The South African Cabin Crew Association and NUMSA holding a picket outside SAA's offices in Kempton Park today. It's a show of support for staff who are calling for better working conditions such as meal allowances. The picket is set to get underway in the next half an hour or so. Ahmed Kajee joins us now live from the SAA offices for an update on the story. And really, Ahmed, what people are saying there is that all of the legacy issues of the old SAA are still in the new structure.
Good morning, Michelle. This, yes, exactly what is coming out of SAA over the last week as well. We had spoken to the Cabin Crew Association yesterday and NUMSA, and they were saying more or less SAA is reaching the turbulent waters that we had seen over the last 18 months or so. We would remember that at least 6 weeks ago, they were, the SAA, as they call it, version 2.0, did take to the skies, and this was the main part of that was the customer experience as well. There were no main reports at the moment in terms of flight delays, but it seems that behind the scenes there do happen to be issues once again. Some of the grievances which the NUMSA and the Cabin Crew Association are calling for, and this also includes salary benefits. So they are saying that pension fund, housing funds, perhaps housing allowances have not been restored as well. Staying with salaries, they have also spoken about the fact that there's been 30 to 35% salary cuts for workers who are on the ground, and then perhaps for management, they believe that there have not been any salary cuts or any pay cuts for higher management as well during the restructuring. And then speaking towards the restructuring as well, many of the staff who have actually maintained or stayed in their jobs were meant to be repurposed and retrained. According to NUMSA and the Cabin Crew Association, this has not been the case, but rather there seems to be processes of those who have been let go or retrenched. There is a rehiring of those staff as well. So NUMSA and the Cabin Crew Association coming out and laying out these list of demands, to more or less calling on management to actually come through and listen to their demands and to their grievances, and to make sure that there is some sort of correction. In terms of operations for South African Airways on the ground, that will be continuing as per usual. So flights leaving from Joburg International Airport as well as Kempton International Airport, that will be more or less carrying on as per usual. But in terms of the main concerns coming out of the South African Airways, in terms of the Cabin Crew Association and the NUMSA, it seems that turbulent waters have been passed over onto SA Airways currently as we speak. We are expecting the picket to start within the next half an hour or so.
So as you say, at this point, no real impact on the running of SAA, which only a couple of weeks ago got back into the sky, we have to point out, Ahmed. But given, how the issues are being addressed today, do you see the protests escalating and perhaps there being a knock-on effect on the operations and the flights around the country?
Well, it's unclear from the Cabin Crew Association as well as NUMSA on whether they will be formally downing, perhaps downing tools a bit later on. So in terms of operations for today, things will be carrying on as per usual from internal communications, which we had seen. NUMSA and the Cabin Crew Association have came out and said, that staff who are meant to be on shift are excused from today's picket, which will be taking place at SA Airways Park. But I think something that should be mentioned right now is just behind your camera screens, more or less the direction in which we are facing towards the main entrance. The offices have been shut now, so the gates towards SAA Airways Park has been shut. You will see behind me there are some law enforcement units from the EMPD present as well. So in terms of operations at SAA Airways Park, that perhaps could be hindered in terms of the daily operations, at least for today. There's at least 10 units in and around the surrounding vicinity. You will see my colleague Ningim Junge just taking you through those visuals as well. Over the last 5 minutes during our crossing, we more or less had seen the gates being formally closed, and many workers who are going to be working today at the SAA Airways Park being turned away. So in many ways, operations, at least for today, from a management level and from scenes which or at least operations which wouldn't normally affect passengers on the ground, that seems to still be in check. But in terms of what's happening right now, it clearly means that today's picket will affect SAA operations in some way or another, not perhaps having an impact on passengers who will be flying, but perhaps for those who will be working in the SAA Airways Park today, it seems that there will be some disruptions in some way or another.
All right, Ahmed Kajee, thanks very much indeed for that update. That protest by the South African Cabin Crew Association and NUMSA set to get underway in the next half an hour or so.